I have seen a ton of YouTubers in the last couple of days talk about this recent news that has absolutely flooded the internet about Star Wars. Some news that is somewhat good, but also somewhat like will give you stage 8 diarrhea if you think about it too hard. That's how dumb it is. Again, it is no secret that Kathleen Kennedy is one of the most hated people on the planet. I think everyone knows that she is one of the most hated people on the planet, except for herself and apparently the company she works for. For those of you who don't know, Kathleen Kennedy is obviously in charge of Lucasfilm, aka Star Wars and Indiana Jones. Star Wars being like the next biggest media in the whole entire world other than Marvel, right? She was basically left in charge when George Lucas decided to sell Star Wars to Disney in 2012, and it was obviously promised that under Kathleen Kennedy's watch and under Disney's new guidance of Star Wars, we would see a plethora of great projects, when in the fact, not only have we not seen a ton of great projects, we have seen a lot more worse than good. Not just that, but we've also seen The Acolyte, one of the worst things to ever happen to a franchise that I have personally ever seen. And I watched Marvel release The Marvels in 2023. The Acolyte is a massive kick in the balls, even if you're a girl, to all Star Wars fans together. Not only was the show incredibly badly written with a ton of political woke politics in mind while making the show, every single white character in the show is either a fucking dickhead or was evil. The show completely broke canon and lore. Also featured some of the worst acting I've ever seen, and I'm a bit of a porn enthusiast who likes his Bella Danger video from time to time, and I can tell you what, her acting is so much better than anything we received in The Acolyte, other than maybe the dude from Squid Game. He was pretty cool. Not even Amandla Stenberg, one of the probably prettiest women to come out of Hollywood in the last couple years, could save the project, as her acting was absolutely fucking shit. And when Star Wars fans called her out for being shit and her character sucking, she decided to make a rap video and song about how Star Wars fans are racist because they didn't like her character or acting.
Well, I mean, white people crying actually was the goal.
Kathleen Kennedy is the person who gives the go-ahead to the shows like The Acolyte. She is the person who basically did all the strings of episode 7, 8, and 9. And the only good projects to really come out of Star Wars under her watch have been Star Wars The Clone Wars, Rogue One, The Mandalorian, and maybe Andor for some people, and maybe Rebels. And none of those projects had anything to do with Kathleen Kennedy. It was basically all Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau for most of them. Anyway, you might be wondering, why is this chubby 5'8" fat kid yelling at me about Kathleen Kennedy being a very, very bad leader of Star Wars? Tell me something I don't know. Well, what you guys might not know is a recent article came out saying that Kathleen Kennedy is ready to retire, but is waiting for a win, according to entertainment analyst. Kathleen Kennedy apparently has something in common with much of the Star Wars fanbase. She wants Kathleen Kennedy to leave Lucasfilm. But according to Film Threats Chris Gore, she's only willing to walk out the door under one condition. Namely, she wants to leave on the heels of a massive critical and commercial success. That's something Lucasfilm hasn't experienced in quite some time. Since Disney's initial acquisition of Lucasfilm in 2012, the company has been under the direction of film industry veteran Kathleen Kennedy. Back then, the longtime George Lucas and Steven Spielberg associate promised George that she would take care of his life's work. She has done anything but. Under Kennedy, the Star Wars franchise has gone from the most evergreen IP of all time to a sour note punching bag for YouTubers and streamers the world over. Kennedy presided over the deeply unpopular Star Wars sequel trilogy, which saw the deconstruction and eventual death of Han Solo and Luke Skywalker while pushing a younger and more diverse cast. She also oversaw Solo, a Star Wars story, which holds the distinction of being the first ever Star Wars film to lose money at the box office. When you couple that with the critical and commercial failures on Disney Plus like The Acolyte, Ahsoka, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and The Book of Boba Fett, it becomes clear that under Kennedy's supervision, Star Wars has fallen a long way from the powerhouse sci-fi franchise it once was. With every failed project and announcement that never ultimately see the light of the day, fans around the world ask a series of unifying questions. When will Kathleen Kennedy leave Star Wars? When will Disney fire Kathleen Kennedy? And how does Kathleen Kennedy still have a job? According to Film Threat's Chris Gore on a recent episode of The Pro Show with WDW Pro, Kathleen Kennedy actually wants to leave Lucasfilm, but only under one very specific circumstance. We've been hearing lately that Kathleen Kennedy is not very hands-on with Star Wars at this point. Hollywood scooper WDW Pro said to Chris Gore on a recent episode of Livestream YouTube show, "Are you hearing anything similar that she may be operating in title only, at least for now?" Gore then confirmed that he was hearing similar rumblings before dropping a bit of information. She wants to retire and leave, Gore said, but she wants to do that on a win. Gore went on to say that in order for her to leave, Kathleen Kennedy wants a huge success that she can ride into retirement. This could be a smash hit television show or a box office victory with a theatrical release. In other words, she wants to go out with a high note like George Costanza on Seinfeld. So yeah, the article basically goes on and on about Kathleen Kennedy wanting to finish her career off on a high note. And the reality is, there's ultimately only one high note that I can see her finishing on. Again, on the things of everything she's basically done failing, it is true. Again, Solo, a Star Wars story, Kathleen Kennedy said failed because it was released like the same month as Avengers Endgame. And even though that may have had some part of it, the reason Solo, a Star Wars story failed is because everyone was so upset and pissed off about the abomination you created with Star Wars The Last Jedi that no one wanted to go and fucking see that movie 6 months later. Again, you know Endgame was not the reason it failed because you were literally releasing 2 Star Wars movies in the same year of 2026, proving literally all the fans right that you are lying and that we know the reason it failed was not just because of Endgame, that was a very small reason, but because it was released 6 months or so after the worst, arguably worst Star Wars movie that everyone hates. And the only other Star Wars movie that's worse than that one is the one you decided to fucking create after. Again, I actually liked Ahsoka, but a lot of people didn't, and it was still probably a failure. Obi-Wan Kenobi was definitely a failure in terms of a lot of Star Wars fans' eyes. Book of Boba Fett, I'm sure, did well on the streaming numbers, but God, they massacred his character and was disliked by everyone. And I can guarantee you, The Acolyte definitely didn't do well on streaming numbers and definitely was not received well at all. The Kathleen Kennedy shows have all been a failure. The only ones that have succeeded really are by the dudes that did Rogue One and are by fucking Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. The thing is, the only high note that Kathleen Kennedy could possibly leave now with Star Wars is The Mandalorian and Grogu, which we know she's gonna 99% likely take a massive step back on, and we know the people making that movie are gonna be Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, and she's probably not gonna have really any input on it at all. I mean, let's be honest here. The thing is, that movie will succeed. I know it also comes out the same time as an Avengers movie. I don't know why they're doing that. That's dumb. If they weren't going to do that, I literally think it could crack a bill with the right, advertising and all that. But if it comes out 1 or 2 weeks after Avengers does, you're going to be lucky to get 500 to 600 mil, even with how big of a property Mandalorian and Grogu is. The thing is, you know it's probably going to be a critical success though by all audiences because it's made by the same guys who did Mandalorian Season 1 and 2. It's also technically made by the same guys who did Mandalorian Season 3, but obviously the rumors for so long is Jon Favreau had Kathleen Kennedy completely butting in and demanding that a massive female lead in Bo-Katan get introduced, and obviously that didn't work. The Season 3 was nowhere near as good as the other two, and it looks like Kathleen Kennedy knows that no one wants her going near this project, and she's stepping back. Again, I don't think she will leave after The Mandalorian and Grogu presumably does succeed. I think she will be done at the end of 2026 when her Rey movie comes out, because I think she's going to want to be there for every step to the end, because let's be honest here, the character of Rey is literally like her baby, and even though no one likes the character, which I feel really bad for Daisy Ridley over, because she seems to be a fantastic actor, you know, Kathleen Kennedy is gonna push for that to be her last thing and her last success and all that type of stuff. And sad part is, even if that movie's good, I don't know how many people are gonna see it. There's definitely no one's gonna go see it unless they call it like Star Wars 10. If they don't call it Star Wars Episode 10, it's like Star Wars A Rey Journey or whatever. That shit's gonna fucking sink so bad, bro. But yeah, obviously, I'd very much like to hear all of your thoughts and opinions on this down below. What do you guys think about Kathleen Kennedy hopefully retiring, giving it up, all of this type of stuff? Has she finally learnt that she is a very, very bad person for Star Wars? I don't know. Subscribe to my sports channel and my IRL/long channels. Links for them will be down below. And I guess I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.